Yeah! Where are you gonna be when the Nacho Man Sandy Cabbage takes down Crotto live at Pouring Pixels this Saturday night?
What?
I said, where are you gonna be?
What?
I said, the Nacho Man Sandy Cabbage is gonna come at you with the hardest game in beer reviews this side of the Mississippi.
What game are we reviewing tonight?
Saturday night.
It doesn't matter what game we're reviewing! Retro World, know your role and shut your mouth! It's time for the game beating, fighting game competing, simply amazing, RPG level raising, gamers champ to lay the smackdown on all your candy asses and review Saturday Night Slam Masters. If you smell what the Crotto's cooking.
Oh, yeah! If you can even see me, I'd like to welcome you to the squared circle of acceptable alcoholism we call Pouring Pixels. He's Crotto, your mother's side piece.
He's El Zacco, the reason your children have nightmares.
And if you learned anything from our pro wrestling alter egos tonight, it's all about Saturday Night Slam Masters.
That is correct. Saturday Night Slam Masters. As you can see, we have an original cartridge from the Super Nintendo. It came out in 1993 by Capcom.
That's right. Now, Capcom is of course essential to retro gaming and everything that particular company provides. In this game, you would see something that would be similar to another Capcom game that people are ultimately very familiar with.
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter.
Right.
But this game is not Street Fighter. It's a wrestling game. You have two opponents beating the shit out of each other. However, you're not going to punch and kick your way out of this one.
In Street Fighter, you got the 6-button layout. You got the 3 punches, the weak, the medium, and the hard.
Right.
And you got the three kicks, the weak, the medium, and the hard, of course. In this one, you got only 3 buttons. You got the attack, which can also do the grabs. You got the jump, and then you got the pin.
Right. So the essential mechanics of this game is beating your opponent down isn't enough. Once they're down and their stamina is low, then you have to pin the shit out of them as per original professional wrestling. Right. Now, in this game, there's a button completely dedicated to that.
Right, that is correct, the pin button. However, just like Street Fighter, there is a life energy bar.
Right.
So, the lower the energy, the better. So if you deplete their energy, you're not going to get a kick out. However, you still can't pin if their energy is low, but there's more chance that they will kick out, as you can see in some of the game footage later on.
Right. So, as it stands with this particular game, it's not just a race to the end of that stamina bar. You have to actually finish them off. And that's what's kind of unique about Saturday Night Slam Masters. Now, that being said, as different as it is from Street Fighter, there's also some other significant similarities that we would see in other games like Street Fighter.
Right, I mean, there's lore. The game, believe it or not, there is some lore. Mike Hager from Final Fight, which is not Street Fighter, but it originally was going to be Street Fighter 1989 when it first came out. However, Mike Hagar trains the 2 main characters, which is a Russian wrestler and an American wrestler. One of them which actually trained with Zangief from Street Fighter.
And the other one being related to a famous Street Fighter that we later find out is Guile. And that particular wrestler in this game is called Gunlock.
Right.
Of course, an American from the 80s represented in characterization in the video game is going to have a fucking name like Gunlock.
Right, that is correct. Now, we are gonna play, for the most part, El Stingray.
Right. El Stingray is a lucha libre wrestler. Now, his name is so fucking long in this 16-bit version of this game that it doesn't even say El Stingray completely. You have to read up on that. Otherwise, it says something crazy, right?
Like Sting or something.
Sting V or something like that. So unless you actually read into it, you wouldn't know that our lucha libre competitor champion that we'll be featuring tonight is actually named Stingray.
And here's the reason I got him. My family's actually from Acapulco, and he's from Acapulco, Mexico.
Dang.
We mentioned Street Fighter earlier. So there is movement in the ring where you can move up and down, get out of the ring, climb the top ropes, as you'll see. And there are
that
like
2.5D fighting, right? How we talk about the north and south mechanic when you're moving.
That is right. Now there is items outside of the ring that you can use if they decide to follow you, and you can bash them in the head. However, a lot of times, the computers can be pretty smart.
Well, the computer has better fucking reaction time than we do with stamped molded controllers from 1992, right?
Yes. Now, there was a lot of competition in the 90s. Like 1993 was Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo. There was WCW versus WWF. However, we decided to go with the Super Nintendo version on the Retron 5 just because it had like the option for better graphics and better recording, better quality.
Right. And not only is Capcom great in making games, especially in this era, but going with kind of a neutral level series of characters that wasn't exactly WWE or WCW game was crucial to the actual core of what makes these types of wrestling games important.
Exactly. Now, there are other wrestling games that you've seen in this era, because this was the early 90s. There were some shitty wrestling games, and there were some very good wrestling games, very similar to this one, such as 3 Count Bout, WWF WrestleFest. The difference between these games is that this had the Capcom magic. You had the fireball motion, where you could like fly across the screen with a Stingray and beat them up, like Bison.
You had torpedo moves. You have these fireball motions, right? Quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, so on and so forth. These actually work the same way in this game.
Yes.
Another great similarity that I found was the point system after every match.
Yes.
For a perfect, for a suplex pin, for whatever way you won the game, you got additional score for it, just like Street Fighter.
Right. Now, however, in this game, when you finish the game and you get the belt, you have to defend it again against everybody. Now, going back to the special moves, if you remember Zangief,
right?
He's got the 360
clothesline,
right.
Yeah.
And
a lot like what Hagar has.
Yeah, and Hagar has it in this one.
Right.
Unlike Final Fight.
I call him Hagar, man. They're gonna fuck me up for that.
What is it, pants? Fucking slacks.
As much fun as I had playing this game, there's so much about it that pisses me right off. First and foremost, the reaction time of the controller input isn't near as quick as the computer you're playing.
Right. Unlike Street Fighter, where you can do the fireball motion like a Hadouken, like with Ryu, El Stingray, you do the exact same motion, but it doesn't work half the time.
No, you have to really plan it, right? Like you can bust out a hurricane kick or a fireball instantly in other Capcom franchises that are similar. But in this fighting game, or pardon me, wrestling game, there's a difference. You have to actually plan things out, almost like if it was scripted.
Exactly. However, wrestling games are like that. They're not as responsive as fighting games. They're not as quick. You have to get in motion. It's more like a beat 'em up.
Right, and honestly, it's also more about the grappling than it is the actual contact, right? Most of the game mechanics in this are consistent with the fact that the attack button is more useful as the grapple button. Pressing forward and the attack button to an enemy grabs them, and then you go up, down, left, or right to decide to throw them in the rope, slam them up, slam them down, or even do a special pin.
Right, and like Final Fight, some of them you jump and then do the grapple move to do a different, or attack move, to do a different kind of motion.
Right. And each character in this game has an attack move outside of a grapple, as well as a grapple special move as well. Now, even though that adds a little bit of expansion to what the characters are capable of, the simplifications of the button is great to help counteract the fact that inputting this is slow as fuck.
Yes, it is. However, we're going to talk about the things we did like.
No, you're absolutely right. There is so much to take away that is consistent with an enjoyable game. First of all, at its core, it is a Capcom game. The animation, the colors, the scoring system, and everything that you would know to love from other Capcom titles are still there.
Yes, it's beautiful. Those pixels are huge, and let me tell you what my favorite thing about this game is, and it's not the control, it's not anything else. It's the fact that Tetsuo Ohara was the artist in this game. If you don't know who that is the guy that made Fist of the North Star.
Fist of the fucking North Star, you better believe it. This guy is responsible for some of the most cultural video game relevant art out there, and he blessed us with his talent when making Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Yes. So to us, we love this game. To us, it's our favorite wrestling game.
Right. There is no connotation to a real-life wrestling organization, which really helps it stay pure to its roots. And plus, for a game that took place in the early 90s, they really nailed down the lucha libre style wrestling in this game.
Yes, they did. El Stingray is the man.
And he's also our inspiration for the beer we chose this week.
Yes.
For this episode of Pouring Pixels, we went with the beer called Mocha Sombrero by a brewery called Clown Shoes, of all fucking things, out of Massachusetts.
That is correct. As you can see, they are very passionate about wrestling. They got the luchador with the sombrero, they got the Goro forearms, and look at all the coffee he's fucking drinking. Now, to find this beer, I was actually scouting the local groceries, just walking around randomly thinking, what the fuck can we do for this episode?
Right, what's gonna match a wrestling game?
Yeah, and I walked by, not even the beer section, I'm in the frozen food section, and they have the beers right there, the bigger ones.
Right.
And I see two luchadors staring at me, I'm like, what the hell are you looking at, motherfucker? And I see this guy staring right at me. I said, this is the beer we're choosing. And I'm glad we did.
We did. And then upon further review, this beer has a whole lot to unpack. It really matches this game for more reasons than just what's on the label. This is a Mexican-style mocha chocolate stout. Already, that's a mouthful. But what this is, when they say Mexican style, is that means they add things like pancho chili, cinnamon, and vanilla. So when you drink this beer, it's already a 7% stout with mocha chocolate, dark malts, and then you have cinnamon. Then you have the spiciness of chili. And then finally, the grand finish, or submission even, you have this vanilla finish. It's a whole dramatic instance to drink this beer, the kind of sort of drama you would expect from a pro wrestling match.
Like El Stingray. Te pica! Woo!
That's right. Mocha Sombrero fits because not only is it tasty, not only does it have a lot going on, but it's an enjoyable experience, just like what we have when playing Saturday Night Slam Masters. Now, this beer is heavy, right? So you're not gonna want to drink it all night, so enjoy it accordingly, in small doses, like let's say 1 3-minute match at a time, just like you would the game itself. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Saturday Night Slam Masters, a glorious piece of gaming history that we found to be so incredible that we toast to it.
And we toast to it. Why? Because we drink beer, we watch wrestling shows, we play classic video games.
It all goes together, it all makes sense, it all wraps up in a perfect little bundle.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching tonight. We're gonna do better next time. Remember, just because we talk about the past doesn't mean we live in it. For current video games played, please check out my Twitch stream. Link is gonna be in the description, and we will see you next time. He's been Crotto.
He's been El Zacco.
And you've been fantastic, YouTube. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Fuck yeah.
£51 hailing from Green Bay, Wisconsin, Mr. Kennedy! Kennedy!
You should have been rolling.